Head coach Amy Williams.
Here's Izzy Bourne just to the left side of the key. Flare pass. O'Reilly's three. You betcha. Off the assist from Izzy Bourne.
Somebody needed to hit a shot, and it was nice.
Now here's your host, Matt Coatney.
Another chance for us to talk Husker women's basketball with the head coach Amy Williams tonight in Hour 2 of the Sports Nightly. I'm Matt Coatney. Great having you with us. The phone lines are open. 866-HUSKER-1, 866-487-5371. You know, we were the pregame show for the Super Bowl the other day for a lot of people. The game was. Tonight, we're kind of the pre-event for the State of the Union address. So don't worry, you won't miss the State of the Union address. You can listen to us. You can ask your questions tonight. 866-HUSKER-1. Amy Williams is sitting across from me, and I want to jump right into the show and get the hard-hitting questions out of the way that fans want to know. Chiefs and 49ers, did you have any kind of a party, which had to be kind of tough after the game because I wasn't really in the mood to celebrate when I got home, so I can only imagine how you felt. But how many people did you have watching the Super Bowl, or did you even watch the Super Bowl on Sunday night?
I did watch the Super Bowl on Sunday, and we just, my oldest daughter had a few friends over to watch the game, and then my brother and his family came over, so it was just kind of a small little gathering where we could kind of keep it pretty low-key, and my youngest daughter told me that she was cheering for the 49ers, the only one in the house cheering for the 49ers.
Boy. Yeah.
I couldn't quite figure out why. She said because she likes numbers.
She likes numbers. 49? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
I like that. Wow. Yeah, kids say the darndest things, don't they?
Yep.
So, and again, it was just me watching the Super Bowl this year because my kids are kind of older. But back in the day, the Super Bowl party at the Coatney house were little smokies, lots of nachos, shrimp had to be part of it. So what's Williams' household Super Bowl food?
Well, because that was game day for me, and you know, shoot around and pregame meal and all the things that happen on a game day. Dad was kind of in charge, and so
Good.
that equated to a pretty wonderful taco nacho bar.
Awesome.
So it was.
Lloyd came up big.
He
then,
came up big. He's pretty big time.
Well, all right. So that's the important question. So now we'll roll back into basketball conversation. I guess I have to talk about the last two games in which your team had double-digit leads in the first half and then didn't get it done. So let's rewind to Ohio State, and we'll take your calls tonight, 866-HUSKER-1, if you'd like to visit with Coach Williams. Really nice crowd, I thought, for a Super Bowl Sunday afternoon at Pinnacle Bank Arena. Beautiful afternoon. And arguably, I thought your team played its best half of the season. Certainly its best first half of the season. 49 points offensively, tied for the most points in the first half, tied what you did against Duke in the Big Ten ACC Challenge. What was working well in the first half against Ohio State?
I thought we did a really good job of kind of having balanced scoring, being able to get paint touches and have some inside-outside looks from just collapsing their defense a little bit. We played with great pace, and that was important to us, was to get back to, you know, playing with pace and making hard cuts and being able to really be a little bit harder to guard, as we kind of felt like in the two previous games that we didn't have very many assists. We were kind of standing around a little bit, just trying to, you know, watch and let somebody go to work one-on-one, and that's not really our style of basketball. And so I thought in the first half we made a really conscious effort to really stress that, and we did a much better job there early in that game.
So the 25 points you had in the second quarter, or in the first quarter, the most that Ohio State's given up in the first quarter to anybody this year. The 24 second quarter points, the most Ohio State's given up to any team. 6 of 10 3-pointers, 9-11 free throws. And to kind of back up what you're talking about, 8 of your first 9 field goals were assisted. And Sam Hybe had 7 of those assists. I really thought that you had talked to me on the pregame show after the Minnesota game and the pregame show of the Ohio State game that you wanted to share the ball more, and it seemed like that message really probably resonated with Sam quite a bit. But I mean, 7 assists is a lot in a half.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible, and I thought she did a great job of really collapsing the defense and getting herself into the paint, and then that drew defenders where she could drop down passes or kick out passes, and so she made great reads there in the first half and just really shared the ball well, but it started with her ability to collapse the defense and penetrate.
To start the second half, Kevin McGuff made a couple of substitutions. They had Rebecca Mikulashikova, Janiyah Crooms, Kirsten Bell on the floor. They took out J.C. Sheldon, Aliyah Patty, and Braxton Miller. So the first thing I said when I saw that different lineup is Kevin McGuff's trying to get some different energy out here, or at least a different look. And from your standpoint, you and your coaches on the sideline, when you see Ohio State kind of change that up to start the third quarter, what were you thinking they were trying to do with that lineup change?
Well, I think the one thing is just it's kind of crazy to say that by bringing in like Crooms, but I think, she's just she's a very, very good defender and a great rebounder.
Yeah.
And so I thought that, maybe something where he's trying to set the tone with just trying to get after it a little bit defensively, put a little more size out on the court and length in their guard positions, and potentially try to take care of rebounding and defending.
And then Braxton Miller didn't start the third quarter, but she played 10 minutes and had 10 of their 19 points and 2 threes, 17 of her game-high points in the second half, and it just seems like once she got on a roll, she kind of was feeling it. She was hard to stop, wasn't she?
Yeah, it was. She got free a couple times, and she saw the ball go through the basket, and then she was making some pretty tough contested shots after that.
So Ohio State outscored Nebraska 19-10 in the third. You were held to 1 of 12 shooting, 0 of 7 from beyond the arc. At that point, does it kind of become more cerebral that, no, we keep missing shots here. Let's get back into it. You hear coaches talk about all the time, you can't just flip the switch on and off. You can't have 5 bad practices and think you'll be great in a game. Well, is it one of those to where when the ball isn't going in the first couple of minutes of a half, you gotta watch the ball go through or kind of force it, or what are you thinking at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing you can do in those moments is continue to just evaluate, like, are we getting good shots for our team? And if we're getting great shots and working hard and executing and, being hard to defend and making, incredibly hard cuts and doing things the right way and making right reads and getting good shots but just not making them, then you're okay with that. But I think, what maybe happened a little bit to us in that game is we got some great shots early that were great shots for us that didn't go in the basket, and then it kind of felt like now we start pressing just a little bit, and I think that can work against you if you can't just continue to try to focus on let's keep executing and doing what's great for our team to be able to get the shots that we want to get. And we got some really good looks. We didn't make them in that third quarter, and unfortunately it affected our ability to stay locked in defensively and continue to rebound.
That's Amy Williams. I'm Matt Coatney. 866-HUSKER-1 is the number, 866-487-5371 if you'd like to talk Husker women's basketball tonight. Kind of rewinding to the Ohio State game at Pinnacle Bank Arena Sunday. Fourth quarter wasn't much better. Nebraska made only 3 of 16 from the floor, 9 points in the fourth quarter. From my end, when it went to overtime, and I know that had to be kind of disappointing when you were ahead by 15 at the half, but I kind of thought, well, at least you got a chance here in overtime. Was that kind of the thought on the bench at that point?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was. And we'd played in a successful overtime situation, so we felt like, okay, we can learn from this, and we can really find a way to come out ahead here. And so I think our team was feeling, a little disappointed about giving up obviously the 15-point lead, but confident that, we've got a good chance here. We've got another chance here to be able to protect our home court, and we had some really good chances in overtime to where we took the lead and we needed to kind of press and just didn't come up with the defensive plays in overtime that we needed.
It was really strange because Hannah Whitish hit the three-pointer to give you the lead in overtime, and I thought, all right, that's the that's kind of the spark Nebraska is going to need. But the Buckeyes win at 80-74. Their 88 field goal attempts were 9 more than any other team attempted against the Huskers this season, and ended up with an opponent's season-high 64 rebounds. It was a weird stat game because, you know, when you're missing shots and they're getting rebounds, it kind of adds up there. Do you just try and put that in the tank and flush it, or are there learning opportunities from that game, or where have you been with the team this week looking back at that one?
I think that, we felt like there's learning opportunities from this because it was a game where we felt like in our scout that our best opportunity to win was to be able to mix our defenses a little bit. And so we played a couple of different possessions of zone and different kinds of zones in the game and mixed our defenses. And we really felt like at times we were doing a pretty good job in our zone defenses, getting them to take shots that we were willing to be okay with, but then we didn't box out and rebound. And so I think from our perspective, we feel like moving forward, our team is going to have to really be solid in our man-to-man defense, but know that we need some things to be able to go to, some things to be able to mix things up and change things up a little bit. And if we're going to do that, we can't play a minute straight of defense because we have a great possession and then don't box out, and now we have to play 30 more seconds of defense and try to box out again. And I just think our ability to finish those possessions, whether we're in man or zone, with defensive box outs and rebounds is going to be critical.
I want to ask you a technique question here because fans sometimes think, well, why don't they play more zone, or why don't they do this or do that? But consistently, every coach I've talked to has said, if you primarily play man defense, to go to zone, boxing out is so much more difficult. So why is that?
Well, we talked about that quite a bit today, watching film and in practice as a team. And I think the reasons are, and Izzy kind of brought this up, and she said, it's a little confusing about who specifically I need to go box out. And when you're in man-to-man defense, it's really not tricky.
Yeah.
You know exactly who you're supposed to box out, and sometimes there's some defensive rotations where maybe that gets mixed up, but for the most part, you're responsible for boxing out your man. And in zone, when you don't have a man, it's kind of an area, and then there might be a couple people in that area, or it might be different things. I think we had several possessions where we had more than one person committing to the shooter, and then we had too many people committed to the shooter for box outs and not enough people committed to away from the basketball for box out responsibility. So it's something that we worked hard on today in practice and trying to get better at, but just knowing our rotations in our zones so that we don't have 2-3 people running at the ball when the shot's going up and then not enough rebounders.
The second half, not good, obviously. 19 points in the second half against Ohio State, only 22 against Minnesota. And we'll talk about Minnesota here a little bit later in the show. But that's got to have you probably thinking, about your process. I don't know. Coming out of the locker room, have you thought anything? Is anything different? Or, I'm sure you're looking for everything that you can think of to try and have your team have a stronger effort after 2 straight games. Do those thoughts enter your mind?
They don't. They don't enter my mind. And the reason why is because we had many games this year where our process was exactly the same as what it's been in our last 2 ball games, where we've came out and had very strong third quarters or second halves. And, so when you start have a couple bad games and a couple things, I think a lot of people like to start asking questions and stuff, but when your process has been very much the same, and at times it's worked out great, and then at times, there's maybe a little consistent pattern of it not working out. You just can't scrap things and kind of, I think for us, it's just to know and understand that sense of urgency and say, okay, this has been a little bit of a problem for us, is coming out strong, and so we need to be even a little bit more focused and but not get too uptight about it.
That's Amy Williams. I'm Matt Coatney, and we will take your calls tonight, 866-HUSKER-1 on the Woodhouse Auto Family Hotline. The Sports Nightly Hotline is brought to you by the Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is what else. We'll have more of your calls, and we'll talk a little bit about what the Huskers have coming up when we return with the Husker Women's Basketball Show in a few moments. Hey, welcome back to the Nebraska Women's Basketball Radio Show. Matt Coatney with Amy Williams. 866-HUSKER-1 is the number if you'd like to visit with Coach. And the Sports Nightly Hotline is brought to you by Woodhouse Auto Family, bringing you more choices in brands, locations, and service. Experience the difference. Purchase with confidence. This is Woodhouse. So you have our first phone caller of the night here in Lincoln. Let's go to Myron. Myron, you're on with Coach Williams.
Well, thank you for taking my call. I have a question about during timeouts. The coach, the head coach, and all the coaches, they stand back towards the middle of the floor for a period of time before they go and talk to the team or whatever. And you see it in a lot of the men's programs. I see it on most of the opposing teams. I know, Amy, you and your staff do that. And the reason, I didn't know what the reason for it was particularly, I guess, but I'm asking because Sunday there at the game, there was a 30-second timeout there late in that game. And we I don't know if we weren't informed of it or nobody in our Husker staff caught it. And then the whistle blew and didn't have an opportunity to the girl.
Yeah, well, thanks for the question, Myron. It's a really good question. And I think, in the flow of a game, it just goes so fast up and down. And our game, there's no break time. There's no, time between each down or possession or hike or whatever it might be, and it's just up and down. And so there's very little time for us as coaches to really, discuss. And so it's kind of the timeouts provide a good opportunity for us as a coaching staff to really, for me to be able to listen to my assistant coaches' suggestions and to be able to kind of hear their ideas about what they're seeing and then be able to take that kind of on a united front into our team in the huddle. And, I think sometimes on those 30-second timeouts, it gets really tight to be able to have that type of communication and then be able to still get into the huddle and give your kids what you want. But from my perspective, there are times where having more time to get together as a coaching staff and really be on the same page about what the right call is probably even as important or more important than having a bunch of time in the huddle to really explain. We practice those late game situations over and over and over. So if we only have 5 seconds to run over and tell our kids, hey, we're going to execute Minnesota 1 right here, they know exactly what Minnesota 1 is. They've run it many, many times in practice, so we don't need to have a full 30-second timeout to really draw it on the paperboard and show them exactly where they need to be and do, because they've had the experience to be able to kind of really get where they need to be. But more importantly is, or as importantly, is being able to, make the right decisions and get on the same page as a coaching staff about what we want to go with right here.
Myron, we appreciate the phone call. Thank you very much. Did you, when the quarter system came in, did you feel comfortable right out of the box of when you needed to use timeouts? Because it changed quite a bit from the halves. In men's college basketball, there's still an established timeout at the first dead ball after under 16, under 12, and under 8. But in the quarter system, it's the first dead ball after under 5 minutes, and there's a floating timeout in the second half. The first called timeout becomes immediate, and then you get the regular timeout. Do you feel pretty comfortable with it now, or did it take you a while, or did you feel comfortable right out of the box?
Yeah, no, I definitely did not feel comfortable right out of the box. I'm still kind of adjusting, if you be 100% honest, is trying to make the decipher those decisions about how many timeouts to hold for advanced situations. When you can go ahead, when it's necessary to burn a timeout to kind of stop runs, when you need to keep those in your pocket for advanced situations. Late game in the last minutes to be able to advance the ball. I think, there still are times where if somebody has a called timeout, then that ends up taking the place of the next media. And so you kind of get to a point where you're used to or expecting that there's going to be a media at the under 5. But if somebody has called a timeout before that, then it takes the place and there won't be a media. So you could end up going like a 8-minute segment with no extended timeout. And I think that all of those things take some getting used to, and I think at times we're still kind of getting used to it. There's plenty of times where I've evaluated games at the end and said, oh boy,
Yeah.
I could have used my timeouts a little bit better in this game, and it's just a work in progress and continuing to get used to that.
I could only imagine what a coach goes through because, for Jeff Grease and myself, we've watched as many women's basketball games as probably anybody has. And so you kind of get used to, and through the years, whether it was Paul Sandiford or yourself or Connie, whoever was coach, up until the quarter change, I'd feel pretty comfortable saying coach is probably going to call a timeout here, and I'd be right 95% of the time. You just kind of have that sense. I'm a little less apt to do that now just because I don't necessarily feel like I understand it. And then the other day, Jeff Grease and I got in a pretty good discussion. I wish we would have had more time to kind of get into it. But I want to ask you about, with 59 seconds left or less in the women's game or the pro game, really the only level you don't do this is men's college basketball. If you have a timeout after a dead ball, you can call timeout and advance the ball to the 28-foot line in the forecourt. And in my view, I think most coaches kind of think I have to do that. Mm-hmm. Okay, I need to, if I've got a couple of timeouts and there's 42 seconds left and we get the ball after a free throw or a made shot, I need to call timeout and advance the ball. Is there any sense that you can think of where that wouldn't be advantageous? And Jeff and I were trying to figure out, if you're really good at direct attack, and I'll just use Iowa's Kathleen Doyle. She's good just coming right down the middle of the floor. And she's hard to defend off a ball screen or a horn series. Is it sometimes better, do you think, if maybe surprise the other team that they think you're going to call timeout to go direct attack, or you eliminate the 10-second call, you eliminate a double dribble, you eliminate pressure by throwing it in for sidelines out of bounds? What's your thought on, should you advance it almost every time, or are there situations you should just go?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are times for sure where, personnel-wise and stuff, you would maybe want to be able to have the full length of the court, and depending on if you're up or if you're down, and, people will take timeouts and advance the ball, whether they're up or behind, and even if you're ahead, just because of spacing issues, to be able to, have that kind of whole sideline court to be able to, get open and not feel like you have that 10-second backcourt kind of working against you and things like that. But I think a lot of the people, when they're behind, have plays that they practice that are executing sideline inbounds plays to try to get quick baskets and attacks and get the ball in certain people's hands. And so I think that's why the majority of the time people want to, but I don't necessarily think it's a situation where that's an all-time 100% every time you should advance it. I don't think so.
And, from my standpoint, I don't feel like I'm an expert yet, even though I've seen 300 games up close with that. And it really kind of hit me when I was back in my hometown, Springfield, Missouri, last week. A couple of longtime women's basketball broadcasters who've been out of the game for a while had to call. We each had to do a quarter of the Missouri State game. They were honoring us. And Bob Ale said to me, he goes, "Can you explain this quarter system? Can you explain what they're doing?" He goes, "I've never done," and it really kind of hit me, like, for a high school player who's never went through this, how confusing is this for your freshmen when they come in? How long does it take you to explain the unique rules of women's college Division I basketball to kids that you recruit? I mean, you got to spend some time explaining this to them, don't you?
Yes, but generally speaking, the kids that come to us that have played AAU basketball and they've played so many different formats. They're high school. Some of them have shot clocks. Some of them don't. Yeah. Some of them play, but they've played in tournaments where there was a shot clock or there was a backcourt or there was, all the kind of rules. So generally, that's not always the big time-consuming thing. But I will say I made a coaching blunder this year because when Izzy Bourne got to play for us and we were working some sideline execution, and she was unaware that we couldn't throw the ball into we can throw the ball into the backcourt, and the FIBA rules do not allow that. And so we're doing these sideline stack, and I'm telling her to set this screen so that we can get open in the backcourt, but she's trying to set her screen at angles so that we can get open and keep the ball in the front court, and until we took the time to be like, oh.
Oh, wow. Well, I bet that is confusing.
Yes, absolutely. And I just had not even thought that I needed to. Even though when we went to Italy and Spain this summer, that was something we prepared for. We knew that we were going to have to make that adjustment, that we can't, run some of our plays to get the ball into our point guard in the backcourt. And we had specifically made changes and put in a couple different sideline looks to be able to get the ball entered into the front court to be able to flow into our offensive scheme. And I knew that. But then when Izzy joined us and we kind of went back to our rules, I forgot to really spend the time really explaining that to her, and so we got kind of a chuckle out of it. But she's figured it out pretty quickly.
She's been getting a lot more playing time, and she's looking great out there. 866 Husker 1 is the number. We'll have more of your calls on the Nebraska Women's Basketball Radio Show. Returns in a few moments.
You're listening to Sports Nightly.
Welcome back to the Nebraska Women's Basketball Radio Show. Hour 2 of Sports Nightly. Matt Coatney and the coach, Amy Williams, with you. 866 Husker 1 is the number. Hey, Dorothy Lynch Homestyle Dressing and Condiment is the one-of-a-kind taste. It goes with anything. It's good for game day or any day. Dorothy Lynch, endless flavor abilities. Let's go back to the phone with Coach Williams. Let's go up to Omaha to Mike. Mike, you're on with Coach Williams.
I got to tell you, Coach, recruiting Hybe and Brown, I think, are major accomplishments. But I got a question about layups, which has always been a pet peeve of mine when they're missed. How many missed layups were there in that last game?
Good question.
I know the number, but I won't say it.
Yeah, I'm. To be quite honest, I've watched the game film 3 or 4 times from front to finish, and I never took the time to actually count and say, like, okay, I know that, here was a huge missed layup, here was a really big missed layup at this moment, and but I didn't actually count the number. I mean, I can tell you, in this sequence of events, there was a missed layup right here that could have really helped us maybe ice the game, or this moment right here. But there were plenty of missed opportunities there. And, our team knows that, we usually say, if you want to go win on the road, you have to make free throws and layups. And truth is, you got to make them at home too. Yeah. And especially as tight as the Big Ten race is this year.
I mean, is there a determination that, hey, this cannot happen again? We're better than that, and we have high aspirations. I mean, there are a lot of older fans go to Nebraska games, and I got to tell you, a lot of them, myself included, were not happy watching that.
Yeah, I'm sure. I wasn't happy watching it. I know our players were not happy as they were going through that, and it's kind of one of those things where it's, there's not a lot that you can, other than just continuing to work on, being consistent. Those kids make layups over and over and over every single day in practice. They're trained to do it, and when you have kind of a game where many layups miss out, there's really, I'm not exactly sure what you can do about that except try to get back and get a defensive stop on the other end.
No, good luck.
Thanks, Mike.
Mike, we appreciate the phone call. Yeah, and sometimes I think the term, the phrase layup is a misnomer, because when I think of a layup, I think of layup drill, no one's guarding you, half speed in your warm-ups, not with 6'4" kid from Slovakia with an unpronounceable last name defending you, and you've got to kind of angle in around it. Those are counted as layups in the stat sheet, but something's always in your mind. Sometimes you think someone's going to come at you, and you miss it. But we can just put that one in the back burner, hopefully.
Yeah, I think. And one thing, is, our post players have been getting a lot of attention from kind of weak side help defenders. And so now sometimes they're almost expecting, multiple defenders to kind of, come at them. And that's a little bit, tougher focus and concentration to be able to do that. And we just got to continue to practice and get repetition so that when we execute our stuff like we did, we made hard cuts, we set great screens, we put ourselves in position, and then we just, didn't finish the shot. And so that's something that we're going to just continue to work at.
Huskers in Iowa on Thursday night at Carver Hawkeye. We'll talk about that game, and we'll take more of your calls at 866-HUSKER-1 when the Nebraska Women's Basketball Radio Show returns in a few moments. Welcome back to the Nebraska Women's Basketball Radio Show. Matt Coatney and Amy Williams with you. Nebraska 811 says, "Go dig red." And before you dig, always call or click 811 to have your utility lines marked. It's free, it's easy, it's the law. Nebraska on the road this Thursday night to face 20th ranked Iowa. Now that will be a 6:30 p.m. Central start time, so not a top of the hour. And we will be with you at 6:04 Central. No Sports Nightly on Thursday night. We'll be with you at 6:04 with our pregame coverage from Carver Hawkeye. So Iowa had their 9-game winning streak snapped at Michigan Sunday, 78-63. Before that, the last team to beat the Hawkeyes was Nebraska to open the Big Ten regular season. End of December here at Pinnacle Bank Arena. How different is the Iowa team today than the one that you beat a little over a month ago?
Yeah, well, I think they're incredibly just more experienced. They're playing at a high level, and I think they left here after their loss and just have went on a tear. They're playing with incredible pace and great balance, and they had an injury to their starting center that kept her out of a game, and she worked back in a little bit in that Michigan game, but they've had other players come in and really step up and gain very valuable experience. So I think players like McKenna Warnock and Gabby Marshall and Kate Martin and kids that were freshmen and playing in their first Big Ten game when they came here to Pinnacle Bank Arena have played a lot of really valuable conference minutes and are playing a little bit more confidently and more experienced. And so I just think they're really clicking on a lot of cylinders.
I think a key stat that I took from Jeff Greish's game notes, and Jeff Greish really analyzes statistics about as well as anybody, but Iowa has made 13 more three-pointers than their opponents, despite attempting 15 fewer three-point attempts. When you guys played Iowa the first time, they were 13th in the Big Ten in three-point field goal percentage defense. Now they're second in three-point field percentage defense, and they're only giving up a little over 27%. Do you see anything on film that's different about the way they're defending teams on the perimeter? Well,
I think they're doing just such a fantastic job of just getting more aggressive, whether or not they're playing in man or zone and getting out and really stretching. But I think that they're very confident in switching up their defenses. They go to some triangle and two. They go to a couple of different zone looks. They have, their man that's pretty aggressive, and they just mix so much and so often that they really keep teams kind of off any type of rhythm offensively with just their mixing defenses, and they've been more aggressive about really, playing personnel and being smart and getting out to shooters or packing it in against teams that they feel like they need to keep it out of the post, and they're really good at it.
The perimeter players for Iowa here at Pinnacle Bank Arena, the starting backcourt, I don't think they'll ever do this again. They went 7 for 37 in that game, which says a lot about your defense, I think. Kathleen Doyle, 4 for 15. Mackenzie Meyer, 1 for 7. Alexis Civilian, 2 for 10. But Doyle got to the free throw line a career-high 14 times and made a career-high 10. When you look at her in any game, I don't know how you stop her on dribble penetration, especially late game. When they really are in crunch time, it's Kathleen Doyle off a single high ball screen, and here she goes. How do you keep her out of the lane?
Yeah, well, we didn't do a very good job of that in the second half, particularly last game, and we were fortunate in the first half that she was in some foul trouble and wasn't able to put that kind of pressure on us when she was having to kind of sit out because of her foul trouble. But I felt like, and maybe play a little less aggressive to not pick up their third foul when she was playing with her fouls. But I thought in the second half she really came out and was incredibly aggressive. And we didn't do a good job of really being able to sit in a stance and just hip drive and kind of keep her in front of us. But we also were a little bit late with rotations and things like that. So it's something that we're going to have to really shore up and do a much better job of the second time around.
Iowa has won 32 straight at their home arena. The last team to beat them, Nebraska. Do you remember that game? You got out to over a 30-point lead in that, so it's got to give you some confidence that you can get it done there, right?
Yeah, well, that was a fun game a couple of years ago, and I knew Janae Morton hit that shot to end the half and give us like a 30-point lead heading into halftime, and I thought it's definitely our night. We were pretty fortunate, and we were making a lot of uncharacteristic shots, and it was a fun game.
Amy, we will talk to you at Carver Hawkeye on Thursday night. Huskers and the Hawkeyes at 6:30. Thanks for the visit.
Sounds good, Matt. Thank you.
Hour 3 of Sports Nightly.